Hi guys, I'm Drake York. Welcome to the third edition of Dirt Talk with Drake York, and I'm here with Brad Bumgarner.
Thanks for having me.
Tonight's show will be presented by Smith Racing, Roberto Marquez Attorney at Law, Pedersen Motorsports, and Pappenhausen Automotive, and the Ottens. New sponsor tonight, and out there, if the Ottens are watching, we thank you for your support to Dirt Talk with Drake York. And let's start off with our first question for you, Brad. So, I know you ran a little bit of outlaw karts. Do you think that prepared you to drive in the big sprint cars?
For me, no. For the kids that are coming up now, yeah. Like, my parents lied to me my whole childhood about what was going on out at Cycleland Speedway because they didn't want me to know that there were little sprint cars racing around. So my whole childhood, they told me that that was a motorcycle track and there's nothing going on out there. So I never got a chance. I didn't know that there was little things that looked like sprint cars racing out there when I was younger. So I was 14, 15 years old before I even knew that there were these outlaw karts going on. And I couldn't believe that my parents never let me race anything. So I was, I never really got to do that. So the first time I drove an outlaw kart, I think I was already 16, 17 years old, and I was terrible. Ryan Flynn actually gave me the opportunity to drive for him, and I never actually drove off the track. I had to get towed off every single time. So I've been to Red Bluff a couple of times, and I've never driven off the track. I had to get towed off every time, and eventually got fired. So, but these kids that are coming up now, Larson and Larson has blown up the outlaw kart deal to where everybody thinks that's the big deal, but it definitely makes a difference. These kids that have raced since they were little kids are definitely harder to seem to pick it up a lot quicker.
How long did you race in the outlaw karts?
I think 6 races before I got canned. So I ran, like I said, I started driving for Ryan, or I drove for this kid Tommy, let me race his car, and like I said, I destroyed it. And then Ryan Flynn had a couple of karts, and I was helping him on the sprint car and stuff. And he put together a deal for me to run it, and then we were out of parts in about 6 races, and I was teamed up with Michael Tarter at the time, and I crashed him 2 weeks in a row and got fired. So that was the end of that.
Well, your grandpa Roy owned the team and still does. What was it like for you as a kid growing up? Were there like bragging rights at your school, like, hey, my grandpa owns a sprint car team? Yeah, kind of. It was cool.
Like it just seemed normal for me. Like when I was born, there was always a race car. So coming up as a kid, there was always a race car. We were always going to the races. It was like normalcy for me. So it was every Friday night we were at Silver Dollar, and then Saturday nights we were on the road racing in the hauler and stuff like that. So it was like normal for me. I didn't know that other kids didn't have a race car or didn't get to travel. And then when I was younger, they would bring the car to the shop or to the school and put the car on display. Greg DeCaris came 2 or 3 times when I was in grade school, and so that was pretty cool. So yeah, it was a bonus to do that stuff, and I got to travel a lot and see a lot of different things at a young age. So, but it was just normal for me. I didn't know any different.
Yeah. What was your favorite memory as a kid growing up?
Probably the bike races at Chico. I remember always looking forward to kids night, get my bike all tuned up, and we still have probably 50 trophies running around the house and at the shop somewhere for bike nights. And I've got 3 little brothers, so there was 4 of us, so all 4 of us would race on bike nights. So I'd always definitely look forward to bike night at Silver Dollar, I guess.
Well, you won at Marysville last year. Does that give you any confidence going this year, knowing you won a race?
Yeah, because it's been forever since I had won. I won a race, I think, in 2011, won my first 410 race at Chico, and then I finished second. I'm not kidding, probably a dozen times before I finally got another win under my belt. So yeah, it's a huge confidence builder to finally win. We run good and run up front. Like I said, I felt like I finished second so many times, and then finally getting a win last year was a big confidence booster. Really looking forward to this season racing there again.
Well, your grandpa Roy probably has been in the sport countless amount of years. So how long has your family been involved in motorsports?
Forever, I guess. Grandpa started drag racing stuff back in the 50s and 60s, and then in the 70s started racing sprint cars, and doing that with Tommy Hersett and other guys. And then Uncle Jerry started driving, and my dad got involved, and that was all through the 80s and into the 90s. And then when Jerry retired, he stayed on the team, and it was he would do the motors, and my dad would do the setup. And they ran the team all the way through DeCaris and Bobby McMahon and countless other drivers that drove for Grandpa all through the years. And then I finally got the call in 2002 to live out my dream and finally start driving.
Well, you race pavement some, and you race dirt. Which one's been your favorite to drive?
I definitely enjoy dirt a lot more now. I enjoyed working on the cars a lot more, and I grew up dirt racing, you know what I mean? So when I raced on pavement, I was always say that I'm a dirt racer who races on pavement. I'd always, even when I was racing on pavement, I still went to the dirt races, and I love wing, dirt, sprint cars more than anything. It's my favorite thing. I love it so much. And so racing on pavement was just what I did. I was lucky enough to get to drive anything. So I did that from 2002 to 2005, and then we were lucky enough to start racing on dirt. But I think pavement racing, a lot of times it gets a bad rap. Like, I don't really like stock cars or anything but pavement sprint cars is really a lot of fun. A lot of good racing and stuff happening, and now it seems to be making a comeback with the wing stuff. A lot of the King of the Wing is taking over out on the West Coast, and I would really, if anybody's out there, I'd love to get an opportunity to get back in a pavement car. But I think it's a bad rap sometimes. I had a lot of fun racing on pavement, believe it or not.
How many wins do you have total, and in what?
I think I have 3 wins on dirt, 2 in a 360. I won at Quincy, and then Marysville last year. I take that back. 1 win in a 360, 1 win in a wingless car for Smitty Boys, and then 2 410 wins, 1 at Chico, 1 at Marysville, and then I think I had 6 or 7 pavement wins from Tucson, Altamont, Shasta, and all over.
How many, as a veteran, tons of experience. You've raced at the Speedway for many, many years. What experience would you give to a driver that is just starting their career this season?
I would say learn about the race car. I was lucky enough to where I had a family that, at the time, I didn't really think of it as a blessing, because I thought as soon as I turned 16, I was going to get to drive that thing. Like, I had worked on the car since I was 12, 13 years old, going to the car wash and helping with the maintenance and sneaking in the pits and doing all that stuff. So all my buddies, like Bud Kading and guys like that were family guys, when they turned 15, 16, they were starting to drive. So I thought I would get my shot, and it just didn't work out that way. So, but I was lucky enough to where I had to learn about working on race cars. So any advice I would say to guys that are coming up is work on your own car, know what's going on. You should be able to change your own tires and change your own rear end and learn about, you should know how to assemble a car if you have to. But I don't have a lot of advice for driving, because I'm still figuring it out.
How'd you hurt your back, and how's your back doing now?
It's terrible. I flipped at Chico in qualifying, and just kind of like Kevin Swindell's deal, and a lot of other guys. Mason Moore broke his back the same way. A lot of guys, Tim McCready at the Chili Bowl, a lot of guys have been hurt the same way, and it seems like no one really has a legit answer as to how to fix it. It's just when you land flat, you can have all the padding, all the safety equipment in the world. I have all the best seat, Hans, and all the equipment you can have, and it just depends on how you flip and how you crash. Sometimes you'll see someone will crash real hard and it looks real bad and they'll pop right out. And other times guys will just barely flip. Like when I broke my back, they rolled the car back to the trailer. It wasn't that bad. It's just the way that you land, but it's definitely bothered me ever since, but it's not going to stop me from racing.
So you race at Silver Dollar Speedway on Friday and then Marysville on Saturday. Do you think that improves your skill as a driver?
Yeah, I think just like anything, the more you race, the better you'll be. So, last year was the most that I've raced in a long time. Normally, even from my pavement career, when I started racing, we would run like 20 shows a year, 19, 20 shows a year was a full season for us. So a lot of guys, they run 20 races in a couple months, and that was my whole season. So I've been lucky enough to race for a long time, but I haven't run a lot of races in a season. So last year we had a good 410 and a good 360, so our motors lasted all year long. So I was able to run a lot of Chico and a lot of Marysville. So anytime you get to race more, you look at all the guys that are good, like Hurst and Allard and Forsberg and Becker and those guys, they all race so much. So it's just like doing anything. The more interviews you do, the better you get at it. If you, any sport you play, the more you practice. Racing's the same deal. So hopefully this year we've got just as many races on tap, and hopefully we can make them all, and I can race as much as possible.
Well, over the years you've had a lot of cool paint schemes, but which one was your favorite?
Well, the pavement cars were gorgeous. Randy Frank, that was back when Randy was still doing stuff, and before the vinyl kind of took over, and he did a couple of pavement cars that were awesome. He hand painted everything. All the logos were all hand painted. The car was all hand painted, and those pavement cars are so pretty. They don't get beat up nearly like the dirt cars do. So I'd say probably the 2004 car, my white pavement car that Randy did, is probably my all-time favorite. And then my favorite dirt car is probably the one, the 40th anniversary car. I think Kevin Shera did it, and it had a big gold 40th anniversary with pictures of the cars from each of the decades. So I had an old picture of Uncle Bum at Calistoga in a non-wing car, like a black and white photo. And then it had, McMahon, DeCares, McMahon, and then one of me in this Cadillac logo. So that was probably my favorite dirt car. But Randy Frank definitely knocked everything out of the park when he did my stuff.
What are your plans for the 26th season? Are we still going to see you coming out on Friday at Silver Dollar Speedway and Saturday at Marysville?
That's it. That's all we're going to be running, hopefully. So my plan, we got a new 410 this winter, so we're really excited about that. Got a Speedway. And the year before last, we bought a brand new Shark. So we've got two really nice ones. By far, this season is the best that I've ever been set up equipment-wise. We had a brand new Maxim, two really nice motors. So I'm fresh out of excuses. So I've got to get up on the wheel this year. But yeah, the plan is, the plan always changes with every team. If you run good, we'll race more. But the plan is to run all the Friday night Chicos for points, and all the Saturday night Marysvilles, and that's about 30-something shows right there. And then I really would like to run the Tartar Memorial and the Fall Nationals, the Stephen Allard Fall Nationals. So it's about 35 races. So if we can make those, I'd be really, really excited.
Is your nickname really the Biff Dog?
It is, man, and I hate it so much. My dad, before I was racing sprint cars, I raced BMX, and I was about as good on a BMX bike as I was in an outlaw kart. So every time I would leave the house, I would come back with something hanging off or busted bike or whatever. So I would come home, and I got in a bad wreck one day and skinned up myself real bad, and my dad called me Biff, because you crash everything, Biff, 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 and then it stuck. And then it was cool when I was younger, when I was 14, 15 years old, and I was running around the races and getting into all sorts of trouble after the races and partying at Calistoga and doing all this stuff, and Biff, 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 yeah, it's so great. And then I got older and grew up and felt like I outgrew it, and I cannot shake it for the life of me, and Troy will not let it go. He's just Biff Dog this and Biff Dog that, and I guess a lot of people, all these guys have cool nicknames, like the Shark and Mr. Excitement and, all this stuff, and this Biff thing, I hate it. It drives me nuts.
Picture this. So let's say the Keatings come over to you, or an outlaw team, and they want you to come to their team, but you still have the family business. What would you say to them?
Well, my grandpa's always said, if I got a ride with a big team, he would be so happy and proud to know that what he's helped me do has got me to the next level. If Keating or an outlaw team or whoever came along and offered me a deal, he would be really supportive of it. He'd be happy, and he said that before if I got a good ride. But it would really, really take a lot to get me away from Grandma and Grandpa these days. I enjoy racing with them more now than I probably ever have, and they're putting their heart and soul into the team, and I'm doing the same. So something would really have to come along, and I'm not the caliber driver, a Hurst or a Becker or anything like that. So rides are so few and far between anymore. There's guys that are way better than me that are on the couch right now that can't get a ride. So I'm extremely lucky and spoiled to have the opportunity that I have to be able to race with my family. So it would take a lot to get me away from the 88 for sure.
Well, has there always been a track you wanted to race at, like Knoxville, for example, or maybe Australia?
Yeah, definitely. In most recent years, I definitely want to get to Bay Park with Jonathan. We've Tiffany and I have tried to set up something to get us over to New Zealand, to go over there and visit and hang out over there. So to run Bay Park would be awesome. But yeah, anything, like I've been back to the Nationals, and it's kind of a gong show now. It's such a big fiasco. It's for anybody to go back there and try to race, it's really a hassle. So yeah, I would say anything New Zealand, Australia, the Classic would be cool. But I traveled so much when I was younger doing the USAC thing, and I'm an old man now, and I've got wife and kids and stuff like that. So I'm completely content with running Friday Night Chico, Saturday Night Marysville's for the rest of my career. I would be really lucky if I could even do that.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today with Brad Bumgarner. Today's show has been presented by Mike Smith at Kimball Midwest, Shad Trucking, and Kevin Shara Designs. I hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice shirt.
Yeah. I went to Marysville with you that one time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you want a free Bumgarner shirt, you gotta work
come
on his
scrape
car.
mud.
Yeah, you can come scrape mud for Bumgarner. I'll see you guys with Ross Field next time.